so I got these two pieces of square tube. This is going to be where we build off for the Watts link. So I need to come in here and drill this for the 1/2" bolt that I'm going to use. And I'm just going to weld these on up there, and then there'll be a crossbar that goes here. It bolts in with a 1/2" bar on each side. But I need to put a tube in there so when the bolt can't collapse, and then I'm going to cap one end off. May cap both ends off. But if I do that, I need to drill a hole in the bottom, so if water does get in there, that it doesn't swell and bust that tube. Alright, so I got the hole drilled for that tube that's going to go in the end of this for the mount. Alright, so you can see how the tubes slide over this other tube. And I'm going to go in there and weld them all and then cut them off. And then grind this flush on every side here. And when I go to put the bolt in, you can give that bolt all kinds of hell and it's not going to crush that tube. So we're going to go get these ready to get welded on the truck. Alright, so you can see how I just went ahead and welded that whole inside, so I'll grind that down. But I welded all the way around, and then I just made it solid all the way to the end, so this is capped off. We'll grind that and then cut it off here, and then when the bolt goes in, like I said, it won't collapse. Alright, so I got the end ground. I'm going to flip it over and we're going to grind this side down here. Alright, so you can see how I just cut it long, and then when I grind it, you can't even tell that tube is in there. So you see the side didn't end up as good with some paint, you'll never know. But so now when that bolt goes in there, I'm going to grind this down flat like this here in a minute. And then I'll hit it with a and cone and bevel that, after it's ground here in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and get this all ground, and like I said, that bolt can't collapse that tube out there. Alright, so I made like an arbitrary number of 7 inches out, and I've laid this across both of these pieces I put in. I made sure the hole was the right way because I want to weld them on. So we're at 1/2 degree, and the reason why is if you go to the axle, it's at 1/2 degree. So you can see how they're clamped up there. That's how close we got the 2 bag mounts is to the axle. I mean, they're within a 1/10 of a degree to being square with each other, forward and aft and rear, or whatever they call that. So we're gonna go. We got them both measured out. We got the holes in the right place, and they're level with that axle. So we're gonna go ahead and weld these on, and that'll be our mounts for the Watts link. Alright, so I got them all welded on there. We're not going to break off any day soon. Alrighty. Now to make this crossbar that goes across here. So you got to be able to take this bar out somehow. If you got a rear end with the rear loader, if you ever have to rebuild the rear end. So we're going to make the bar that goes from here to there now, and then that'll actually where the link bar for the Watts link is going to bolt onto. Alright, so I've cut these 4 plates out and drilled them all the same, and I got this square tube. It's going to be this is what our actual link is going to ride on. So I'm going to weld this all up now. You see I got 1/2" bolts going where we put that tube earlier. So we're going to weld this all up, and this will be removable so that you can get in there and service that rear end. And we're back far enough that we're going to have no problems with this thing articulating and getting into the bags or anything like that. Alright, I'm going to get these tabs welded onto this bar now. Alright, so up and down center doesn't matter. They say you can actually take this thing and turn it sideways and run it like this. So, but center inside the frame rails does matter. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of tube and I've laid it up there and I've marked that. And I've marked it on the other side. And I found the center point and marked it. And then I took a framing square and brought it down here and marked it. So this is going to tell me where I'm going to drill my bolt location for the linkage that's going to rotate in here. You can see that bolt, the bolt back there. So it looks really good to be centered with that bolt. So we're going to take this off now and drill it, and that's how I got my center in the frame. They say that matters a lot, so we'll see. They say these things are stupid easy to make, so what we're going to do is drill this hole now and get this rotating linkage bar. Alright, I got the crossbar drilled for the center link, and I got a Rosetta drill hole here too, so I'm going to put a tube in this so it can't collapse, and then Rosetta weld the tube. So I got it drilled now, so I'll get the tube put in it and welded. Alright, so I got the tube in there, and I'll cut it and grind it here after I weld it. So I'm going to come in here and plug weld or Rosetta weld this hole and this hole, and then grind it down flush, because you can't really weld this side. If you do and you grind it, you basically just grind the whole weld out. But we want to be able to torque this bolt down. It really shouldn't be torqued, but if somebody got in here and did torque it, we don't want this tube to crush. It definitely won't crush after we get done doing this. So I'm gonna plug weld this and that, and then cut and grind everything down. Alright, so you can see how the plug weld got ground, and then the tube is ground to the edge or the round tube's ground to the square tube. So now the 5/8 inch bolt's going to go through there, and I need to make the bearing assembly for the pivot bar. So bearing's going to go on there, and then looks like I might have to get a longer shouldered bolt. But there's going to be a capture plate that comes out, and a piece in here. There's going to be, because you don't want the outer race touching, we only want the inner race touching this tube. So there'll be a small spacer on this side, a small spacer on this side, so that you're only touching the inner race with the bolt part. And this is going to be, the outer race will be on the pivot. So we'll have to part off a couple spacers on the lathe. And right now I got to go to the lathe and make this center part, because there's going to be plates that come off here for the Watts linkage, the bars that are up here. So anyway, I got a package of these bearings, and we're going to make the centerpiece right now. Alright, I use the boring bar and my big lathe here, and I've got these bearings where they're press fit. They don't, you have to tap them, press them in there. So, and I got 5/8 inch bearings, and they still rotate. So I'm gonna take this piece out, we'll weld the mounts to it. Alright, I've set up here to part off a couple spacers. I'm going to get 2 1/4 inch spacers so the inner race is held on the bearing inside the housing. Alright, so you can see how that spacer goes right to the bearing race, the inner race. So we don't want the outer of this rubbing. So it's spaced out now. And we got to build the cage around to hold this. Notice the bolt has a full shoulder all the way across. So yeah, so we're going to get another 1-inch tube out here. We're going to come back and grab it on that original brace. Alright, got the 1-inch tube laid out and a grinder. We're just going to whack it off here and then take it over there to the mill and get it ready for the tube. Alright, same thing, tube, plug welds. I'm going to weld this up and get it all ground down and everything, and we'll get it on the truck, and then we'll make the support braces out. Alright, so we're finally set up the weld here. I got this tube to hold it straight. It moves right on the bearings. The tubes that I'm going to weld in here are put in here with a square on both sides. And I've also measured out off that other tube to make sure this is square in there. So it's all set up to tack and weld now, and then I can go build this you know, the arm part after that, and then do the crossbars. So I'm going to get this all welded now and then move on. Alright, I got it all welded up here, so I'm going to let it cool down and then we'll put it back in. Alright, so I got everything laid out for the link bars here. I'm going to get these two pieces cut out and then on top each other, and they're going to be drilled, so if whatever they're off, they'll be the same. So we'll drill 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 2 inches, so this gets welded to the bearing that we made. So we're going to make our link bar with using these two plates. Alright, so I've drilled this plate out. There's 2 plates actually cleaned up and welded together, so we'll get past that. Now we got to weld it onto that bearing. Alright, so we got the plates marked out here to make their shape. So we're going to go over there and cut this shape out on them, and then we'll get it welded to this bearing. So I had to open it up a little bit because one of the holes must have tracked wrong on me. But right now I got it dead even. But I have to, I got this arrow on there to make sure that I shift it this way. And they're going to stay like this, matched with each other. So we're going to get the shape cut out now and ground down between the two. And then we'll go from there. Alright, I got it cut the shape on the vertical saw here. So now I'm going to come in, see how I mark that. So I'm going to come in with the belt sander now and round off here. So when I center punched it, I used the compass and scribed that round part. So we're going to get that part shaped up now, and when I do that, see how I tack the two together. I grind that out, it'll actually break them apart. So we're going to grind these edges, and then we're going to take it to the belt sander and grind that weld out and make this shape. So you can see how I marked it out and out, so I know how they are together with each other. So when they break off, I'll know, hey, these two go like this, and then we'll set it up and weld that part in there. Alright, I put the heim joints in, and these are got the extra amount of movement spacers put in, and I've got it clamped up here on the jig, and I've measured it to make sure that it, you know, is setting in there correctly. And we're going to go in here and tack, you know, and it's also spacered up so that height is the same. So it's ready to tack up and then weld. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack it now and then weld it. So I've decided to weld it with those bearings in place, and I'm going to waste them. I know that, but that bearing will protect that machined edge that I made. So we're just going to destroy a set of bearings, but we'll have this thing fully welded and we'll put the new bearings in it. Alright, it's all welded, you know, inside and out. So these bearings are toasted, but what they allowed me to do was to protect that race. So when I machined that race out, I made it big enough that you could put the center punch in, or transfer punch, or whatever, something in there to hit it out. So I'm going to go in there and tap them out and tap new bearings in, and I'll probably clean this up with the grinder a little bit, and then this piece will be done and be ready to put the bars on. Okay, so I got the bearing thing back in here, and I put a straight edge across off this plate, and I put a 3/16 plate in here, and then use the angle finder to get, you know, 90 degrees. Basically it's going to be in the right spot when it comes down to grab this link. I cut this one a little too long. Well, I'll cut it off later, no big deal. But I got this other one over here. I want to go get it welded on now. I just got it tacked. Got this one tacked. I got that one tacked. And then we'll make the brackets for the other end of the adjuster rod here. Alright, I got those two tubes welded on. Now I just got to come in here and make the mount over there for that. You know, the mount for here too. I'll come over here and I got 4 tabs I gotta make, and then figure out what the length of this bar is gonna be for that other rod end, and then weld the tabs on, weld the tubes, and basically it'll be done. So I'm gonna go make those tabs now. This thing's kind of fun to play with. All right. Off to make some tabs. Alright, so I made it out of these gussets on the outside here, and I've got these pieces cut for gussets on the outside of that. So I'm going to go ahead and weld these on now. Alright, I cut 2 pieces of DOM tube, and I've got them going out across that last gusset that I put in of tube. It goes back here and catches this plate. So I got 2 of those. Those will hopefully help it from deflecting this way. The other ones are that way. So then that plate comes and gets welded to this 1/4 inch plate. It goes all the way across, and there's 2 bolts. Come in here and grab it. So this whole center section comes out. And you know, so it's all like one giant chunk now. And then I came and I welded this plate on the outside, the frame on both sides, and I added some DOM tube to strengthen the frame up. And I've welded the tabs on for the Z-bars and made them, I cut them the same length, and that distance is the same, and I put them in by putting the square across the bolts and then putting the digital angle finder on it and tapping it up and down until I had them level with each other like this across each bolt set. So you can see the other plate put on the outside so that that can't get ripped off. So we're coming along. I got to cut the end of that off, but slowly but surely. Alright, I welded that square tube through and I got this cross brace in now, so it's pretty well supported. No, it shouldn't fold up either direction. So, alright, on to the next thing. Alright, I got everything torn apart here. We're just taking apart. But I'm going to take the bolts out. We're going to put new oil and a chrome shiny differential cover on here. And bolt everything back together. Alright, everything looks good. We got the case taken off. It's a 355 gear. Looks like it may have, condensation. It had a little bit of water in it, so it's probably a good thing we're changing the oil. And it's a posi. You see the springs there. So they both turn forward when I turn it. So we're doing pretty good. I'm going to put the new cover on now, a new gasket. Alright, so we got this new cover on, and basically the watch link's done now. So we're going to call this video. Now I can cut those leaf springs out now because it's not going to move side to side. We'll do that tomorrow. I need to get the jack stands moved up under the frame, and then I can make the upper bag mounts. So we got the watch link done, and we got the mounts all done, and we're gonna call it for the video now. Alright, if you like this kind of stuff, check back in. Have a nice day.